Okay. I think most people are done. So, and I did go back and reset this. You can retake it. Connor, if you want to put yours in, and we'll see what it tells you the next time you take it, see if it's fixed. But all right, July 21st, receptionist Ling takes a week's vacation and her daughter fills in for her. I think we've seen this before. What is the, I'm going to open my chat. You guys can either post an answer here or you can turn your microphone on, whatever. So what is it her daughter?
This isn't the same quiz I had.
It's not?
No.
Okay, so my question is,
Common law employee.
is this the same quiz that others took?
Yes.
Okay, so Chris, did you do the one that's 8.3 or did you do the one that was under, I don't know, 8.6?
8.9.
Okay, that was the weekly quiz. So that is a different one. You can do that as many times as you want to. So go into 8.3 so you can see these questions. If you have questions on your quiz, we'll go over those individually because I'll just have to bring up the one that you did because those are random questions. This one, everybody's were the same. Okay, the first one we got common law. Okay, I think we all agree on that one. Al walks in off the street, says the grounds could use some sprucing up, offers to do it for $8 an hour. We'll give him a try for 6 months. That's a long time. I would say 6 hours, but he is told to come in Monday to Friday from 9 to 1, use the company garden tools and check with the supervisor who'll tell him what to do. We can pay him as an independent contractor, must pay him as an employee. You get to choose. That one is also yes. Must pay him as an employee. They're very obvious in this. If you notice, they give you every category. You know, you're telling him how long he's going to work, what hours he works. You're supplying his tools. You're telling him what to do. So, you know, they could try to trick you with part of those things, but they're normally pretty clear. They give you all of the issues or all of the criteria to be an employee. Okay. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to remember this answer. I have not gone back and memorized these. I have to memorize them every year. These numbers. So a retail business that began operations in 87 must follow wage and hour laws if their sales are more than. I know what my answer is, and it's not the same as yours. So you guys all say is B. So I will believe you. I would have guessed D. You said B and I just marked 6. I would have done 500, but
I thought it was 500,000 too, but it says I got it wrong. So
okay.
It's like a retail business in that time. I know there's another one right. I actually pulled up in my book to glance at it. That category under that is like 500,000.
Okay.
So yeah, I cheated a little bit. I'm not ashamed.
Let me, so that it's on page 19 and 20. Non-retail. But it says retail enterprises and non-retail enterprises are both 500. Oh, wait, that's after April. Okay, so yes, you guys are right. So this one's on the first chart because it's before 1990. So before 1990 is the 362 and the 250. After it is the 500. Okay. Those are the things that we need to write down. Those are those memorization things. Number 4, an employer should not accept a W-4 if it's not completed and signed. They request a fixed percentage. They submit more than one change within the same tax year. I don't remember reading that one. So it has to be D, right? Oh,
Yeah, well, it says, an employee requests that a fixed percentage of pay be withheld. And it's like, no, you can't do that. So it's like, since the first two are
I
wrong,
think
then it
it's the
has to be
first
all of the
two.
above.
So this one is not, you can do more than one change. I don't think it's any of the answers. I think it's A and B. It's not complete and signed, and they request a fixed percentage. So we got an A wrong, we got a D wrong. Then we're going with B. The worksheet. Oh, the key on A is
Oh.
worksheet. It's not the
Oh.
form, it's the worksheet. You don't have to fill out the worksheet. So I think the answer is B.
Tricked
Um,
us.
The keyword is worksheet. So those are the things we need to catch. So on a W4, it's, I guess, the form, I don't, is what they would call it. But the worksheet is optional. That's just for you. Okay. See, if we talk through it long enough, we'll figure it out. On the test, you got to talk through it in your head. Okay, Claire's taxable income is 70,000 on her W2. W2 or FUTA tax withheld is. I got one answer of A. I'm going with that. FUTA, remember, the employer pays that, not employees. So I don't know these other numbers. This would be that this would be a 6%. I don't know how they got these other numbers. Because 70 times 6% would be that 42. They may just be nothing, but FUTA is 0. FIT needs to be withheld if the employee works for your firm 1 day a week or less, works for your firm part-time and only when called, is a student hired for the summer. None of the above are exempt. I'm going with D also. They're coming up with all kinds of things there, but it really wouldn't surprise me when you read most law. There's always these strange exceptions, but all of those people need to have federal withheld. If he makes $380 a week for 38-hour work week, what is hourly rate of pay? I like the math there. So yes, I'm going to go with A too. Since he's being paid by week. If they said something by month, then we'd have to do some calculations, but they said by week. If the state minimum wage is higher or lower than the federal one, the employer must use the state, the federal, the minimum wage most favorable to the employee, most favorable to the employer. We've got C's, that's what I will say also. So whatever the best for the employee. Number 9, Lee works 34 hours, Monday to Thursday, 8 hours Friday, and Friday's a holiday. She's paid $10 an hour. What is her pay for the week? So 34 and 8 is 42. Everybody's putting D. Am I not doing my math right? 34 and 8 is 42. They will not be paid overtime because you do not get pushed into overtime because of the holiday.
Oh,
Well-
she's still working 42 hours in the work week.
Yeah,
Right?
So she's still entitled to overtime pay for 2 hours. Because it's Monday through,
Oh,
Monday
wait,
through
last she
Friday.
works. Oh, she worked on Friday. Okay, see, I didn't read the question right. I assumed she was paid for that and it was just a holiday. But she works 34 hours and 8 hours on Friday. Okay, so you get the 430 then. Okay, I see. Not looking for
Devil's in the
100% on a
details.
test. I think that's probably the answer, yes. So it's reading I would say the most important thing is reading the questions, because it doesn't matter how much you know. If you don't read them right, you're going to get it wrong. Okay, Susie is paid $576 weekly for a 32-hour work week. She works 37 hours in the week. What is her total pay? So
I got this wrong because, I did the hourly, figured out her hourly for, 576 for 32. And then
that's
use
what I
that
did too.
hourly to to figure out 37, which was, I got $666. So the answer is none of the above, but the question marked me wrong. It's not saying she's salary.
See, that's what I said too, because it's like, I'm like, what? She's no, I mean, it would make sense if they had said she's a salaried employee, case closed.
Well,
She would
the
make sense.
salaried is implied by the first half of that sentence. Susie is paid $576 weekly.
No, it's not implied at all, because it says that, because generally it's like, pay wise, you might as well be salaried, like if you go work the same 40 hours, the same pay rate every single week.
So
But
is
you're
the-
not but you don't get that same pay if you
Oh.
work more or less.
Okay,
In the payroll class, it's, you learn that there's that, and then up to 40, it's still the hourly rate that you calculate. And then after that, they may qualify for overtime, but depends on whether or not they signed a contract with the employer, what their, salary rate is, regardless of how many hours worked, et cetera, et cetera. This question doesn't give any of that.
this doesn't normally go that deep, but the key is that if it had been over 40, if she worked 42 here, then we would have to pay the overtime.
And right now, she's not getting overtime pay. It's just.
Right, because she's only-
She gets her regular hourly rate until 40,
Correct.
or whatever the
She
hourly
just
rate
had
is
to work
calculated.
more this week. So to me, it's a really strange situation when somebody doesn't, I think of when you work salary, you're working 40 hours a week. But that's not always the case. And they don't get paid until they hit over 40, then they would get the overtime. Okay, is everyone okay on that?
No, I'm still not sure
Same
which
here.
one.
Looks like now the
we answered.
question's giving the wrong answers,
Is it, so
Right.
you
my opinion.
think that, so it's marking
Is
you
it
wrong?
considered salary or is it considered hourly?
It's considered salary till they get to 40 hours and then they need overtime, is what I think the answer should be. But
Okay, so then
let
the
me-
answer should have been none of the above because it
Susie
comes
is-
out to $666.
is
I
that,
know, it's like she doesn't get overtime premium pay until she hits 40, but she'll still get I figured it $18 an hour, so she still do, the extra $18 per hour for hours 33 to 37. It's not overtime, it's just a regular pay rate.
so when you calculated that extra 5 hours there, did that come out to this 576?
No, you get $666 total if she's working 37
Okay.
hours at her.
Oh,
given rate.
576. Okay, I'm gonna go check
And my
my,
assumption was because it says weekly for a 32-hour work week, if it was salary, would it not say 576 weekly salary? I'm just.
Yeah,
kind
they
of-
they have to state whether or not it is salary for certain rules to apply.
It's some of these questions, it's the way they word them, for sure.
that is definitely the hard part. So I think the key here is we'll have to see if we find another one, because I know they do ask more of these type of questions. Since they're not up to 40, you don't have to pay them more than that 576. We are making the assumption that she's paid salary till the 40 hours. But her income is not high enough. It doesn't say she's exempt. And I don't think they ever say that. They would have to say she's exempt from overtime if this happened to be over 40. So for this case, since it's under 37, she's just gonna get her 576. Normally, she only works 32 hours, but sometimes she has to work more.
All right, well, we'll go with that. I'm just saying from the payroll class, this kind of situation comes up and it makes you calculate that.
It makes you
get
calculate the extra hours.
Yeah, and they
um,
would get paid for it,
Okay,
for the
okay,
extra hours worked.
let me see. I'm just gonna check to make sure that I put in. I gotta find the question in this. I don't know what the numbers are, but it starts with the word Susie, so hopefully I can find it quickly. I just want to verify that I have the right answer is in Blackboard. And then maybe I can look in the book and see if they have more examples.
Also, where is the homework for this week? Because you put in the 7.07 payroll homework again, but I can't find the 8.07 homework for depreciation.
So I did not upload the file. Is
Yeah,
that
what
what
if
you're
you're-
telling me? Okay. It must
Yeah,
not be
Michelle,
there.
I actually emailed you. A lot of the folders this week are linked. They're linked to
They're
like
still linked.
previous
Okay.
weeks. Yeah.
There is no homework due this week. I won't say, there is no homework due, but I will put the depreciation up there because we will get to it.
I know I'm going to do this week. I just don't really want to do 10 sections of homework next week.
Right, but you can get started on it, but I won't ask any questions, or I'll probably, and we have 3 weeks on depreciation, so the full packet will not be due till after spring break. But okay, I will go in and do that. So this is section 3, number 3. I'm almost there. Because there's possibility I could put a typo in there. Okay, so what the answer key says is B, no additional pay is required because 576 divided by 37 did not bring her wages below the federal minimum hourly wage. That does not make sense to me.
No, that's
That is
like
asking a
tipped
totally
employee question.
different question than the way we're looking at it.
Yeah,
Okay. I don't like that question. All right, we will go on. Okay, to be exempt from federal wage and hour law, an administrative employee must have a title that includes the word manager, $370 a week, the power to hire and fire, active responsibility for establishing company policy. This is one I would have to stop and think about. Is anybody willing to make a guess?
I can
That's
tell
the
you
one
it's
I put
not
was
B.
the-
It's
Right.
not B,
It's
okay,
not B.
okay.
I could have sworn the power to hire and fire personnel was one of them.
I thought that was, but I think the higher responsibility is, it's the
The
company
active
policies.
Yeah,
That one is, because if you think about, so if you picture McDonald's, you could have a shift manager who has the ability to hire and fire, but they still have to be paid overtime because well, I don't know what they're paid now, but if you go back a few years before all the wages increased, they weren't paid enough to not be paid overtime. So they've gotten a lot tougher on who has to be paid overtime because it's abused otherwise. So I think the answer is D. It's company policy is the key thing. It used to be this, but this is a higher power, I guess is the way I would remember it. That makes me think, I wonder, my kids are paid salary. But they probably establish and enforce company policy. I'm wondering that, I don't pay them overtime at this point. Maybe I'm supposed to. Okay, 12. Under IRS regulations, documents substantiating amounts reported on a 940 should be retained until. So 940 is an IRS form.
Yeah, it's supposed to be retained for at least 4 years, and
So
I
IRS
did.
is 4. So that would make it either C or D.
I put C and it says I'm wrong, so it's probably
It's
B.
4 years after the due date.
Okay,
which
so
is January
the
31st.
due date of, for a 940 is January 31st.
Ah, I missed that little detail. Thank you. I learned something.
So yes, the 4 years part was right, but it's the due date after 4 years.
Ah, see, that's the stuff you gotta remember for the
That's,
certification. That was one of the tricky things I remember
that's
now.
what's gonna get you. So it's not necessarily the date, but it's when you add the date and the years together. All right, we are going to create a study guide together that has all of this information on it. So that we, because there's so much memorization. This test is the worst on the memorization part, so. UPCO employee Rachel quits and moves, wants to give her final paycheck, but cannot find her. They must submit the check to the state under. We got 1C, that is correct.
See, I put that and it says I got it wrong.
Same here, sir.
Thank you.
I put it,
Uh,
got it right. So
and you
I
put
put it,
C
got
and
it
you got it
wrong.
right?
I did.
Now, I don't know what's going on. If you can't grade them differently, there should only be one answer in there. I'm gonna put C in there because that's the one I think it should be. And then we will come back and see. So what's that, number 13? Which of the following forms is completed for every new employee? We got a 9-9, all right. We will all agree on that. Which of the following is no longer relevant to payment on Form 945? I don't even know what that question's asking.
I just put the form that I had never heard of, and that was B.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. Well, 945, which of the, I don't know what an 8109 is. I can't remember. That's when you ask Google. Let me see. The others, I know what they all are, and they would not make sense. So yeah, that's a good test taking strategy when you have no idea. Let's see.
It's a deposit coupon.
Ah, there we go. Okay, so you have to pay them electronically. So deposit coupon, so 8109. I guess, I don't know that you have to totally memorize the number, but just, I guess, kind of keep it in the back of your mind. Which of the following is not included in the journal entry for employer payroll taxes? I was looking for FIT and I didn't see it, but this one does have the word employee in here. That's the key there. We'll go with that. All right. Your firm pays half its employees' hospitalization insurance premium, remitting payment on the 30th of each month. If for the monthly payment pay period ending April 15th, you withheld and record 27 for the employee share, then on April 30th, you will obviously debit it for they're trying to
It's
confuse. Let me see.
you gotta remember, it says the firm only pays half of the employee's
Right.
premium. And it's like, so they pay 2,700, which is their full share of the premium. So you don't double that.
Right. Okay. So that's because at first I was going to 54 because I thought it was going to ask how much do I pay him, but it wants to know how much I debit, and I can't debit in expense and withheld. So I'm going to say that that is the case because it's half.
Well, I chose C for the 5,400 and got it wrong. So
Okay. And that's because the insurance expense part should only be half. If you're talking, so the expense is half and the withheld is half. So they both should be 2,700, and they don't give you like a cash. The cash should be 5,400. would be the, if it asks you, what do you credit cash for? The cash would be that. I don't think I put a time on that, so that's probably good. So 13 was the one I was gonna look at. Oh, and it says I missed one, and that was probably 13. Now mine, it did give me points on all of these. Okay, it was 13.
And it's saying, oh, the sheet law is wrong.
Okay. Upco. All right, give me a second. Let me. I don't remember which section that is. That's the hard part. My test bank goes by. Oh, okay. It's number 10, section 2. That's what it's in. My answer key says C and nothing else. Is that, I don't remember what we put.
We did put C, the sheet law.
Okay. Then that is right. That one would, sounds like it's my error. Let me see. Let me edit the test and look if I can see. Ah, see? Nope, that one's my fault. So we were all right. Oh. Let's see. Okay, it is fixed. So it says it goes back and gives you the points for those. So it should adjust your grade. Okay, does anybody have any questions on any of these? I guess we can look at them this way is how they were put in here.
For that FUTA tax, and I had to remember something. Okay, it's taxable income, and you know, since FUTA is employer taxes, the answer on that would have been 42. And I just to make a note for everyone that the FUTA tax, even though it says like 6% of the 7,000 in the book, it's like most places on would get like a 5.4% credit unless that company screwed up. So I think it would have to say if it does so. Just gotta remember,
Yes.
it takes 7,000 times 0.006
Correct.
because it's only 0.6% instead of 6%. That
Correct.
is important
That I think
detail.
we assume that they're getting the best rate, the 0.006, unless they tell you, and those are the hard ones where they because it's a credit reduction. And those are harder to me because it seems kind of backwards. I don't see that question here, but it was there somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, I had to
anybody-
remember, even though it says 70,000, you got to reduce that
Oh,
to
it's the-
7,000.
Yeah, that's true because they are trying to confuse you there. Because I saw the 7, and so that's the first thing I thought of. But it is the 7,000 is federal. That is the limit. Okay, are there any questions on any specific questions on the back of the book test?
Yes, I have some. Let me get that pulled up.
Okay. I guess I have my book here, but I will.
I've got a quick question. Number 46.
What number? 46? Okay. Give me a second. Let's see. That was in. I don't know if it's in this week's.
Is that which of the following categories of employees are not exempt from the overtime pay requirements under federal law?
Okay. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing here. Okay, you said 46, Connor?
Yep.
Which of the following categories are not exempt? So I am going to say, so if I take all of those, because off the top of my head, I don't know what they're looking for. But the lowest level of these employees is blue collar.
Mhm.
So I would say the answer is C. Because administrative, professional, and executive, to me, all are the same type of employee. And they can be exempt, but there's certain requirements as far as how much money they're making and what their responsibilities are. That was the.
Yeah, in the book, it says, blue collar, even though they can make a lot of money, they still have to be paid overtime because of
Right.
the kind of work they do.
So blue collar would be the HVAC guy that comes and charges me a whole lot of money. They make really good money.
Let me tell you this, if your unit is working fine, you don't need a maintenance call. That's basically saying, come sell me something.
Well, it seems like they come out all the time for me, and my husband sure complains because they don't do a very good job. Maybe I need you to come do mine. There you go. You
I
left
can
that for
honestly
a
tell you,
reason.
grab your, yeah, all that stuff was part of it. It's like, no, your stuff is working fine. You don't. It's
Mine
just
normally
basically a
isn't
sales
fine.
call.
I call them when it isn't fine is what I call them for, but
Yeah, that's the smart thing to do.
only
when it's
I-
not working.
okay.
I
Which
have
one, Tanya?
questions on 10, 11, and 20, if we could maybe go through those.
Oh, let me find 10 here. Okay, 10. Let me see. Okay. Somehow I lost my page. Okay, number 10. Carla earns 142.2 from January to November before resigning to work for a new employer who pays her $3,000 for December. How much would be withheld from the $3,000? So when you go, what was the cap? Who can tell me what the cap was? Was it 140?
142.8, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
That's correct.
So since she's going to a new employer, the new employer knows nothing about what she made before. So the full amount is going to come out of this $3,000. So 3,000 times, when it says FICA, I guess 7.6%.
6.2.
Is it asking for just the 6.2? Okay, let me get my calculator. 3,000 times.
Well, no, FICA is both OASDI and HI.
It's
Okay.
7.65%
Yeah.
total.
yeah.
Okay, so it's the whole
I
amount.
lapsed
Do these
there.
answers? So I think the answer is A.
That's what I got as well.
Do any of these other answers, can you get them? If you do this, if you do the 6.2,
So I did not, I guess really what it came down to is I did the cap, the 142.8, and I was
Okay.
like, none of these,
Okay.
this
Yes.
isn't working. So that's where I got
No.
confused. Sorry.
so you were doing it right what they wanted you to do, but they didn't give that as an answer, which was nice of them. So
Right.
at least you get to the point where you're stuck and you're thinking, oh, I have none of the answers. I got to do something different. So yes,
You can
When-
get D if you just do the OASDI of 6.2.
okay. And
I don't know how
so,
you get B or C.
okay. So yeah, we're going to do the full 7.65 there. Number 11, she's paid weekly of $300 for a 38-hour work week. Or does it say? Okay. If he works 39 hours in week 1 and 38 hours in week 2, how much pay is he due for the 2 weeks? Now, this is going back to what we had the last time.
So are we saying that this is a salaried employee, so it should be A?
I think I would put the answer of A, but I guess I can't promise you until they grade it, if that's the answer they want.
Let's all agree on A and then we'll correct it when if they say
Okay,
we're
that-
wrong.
Yeah,
Yes,
I also
I'm
put A. So.
I'm gonna make a note here for that one. So that's number 11. And I'll go back through that section and try to read exactly how they word that. So number 11. Okay, so I do think the answer is A, that if they would have hit 40 hours, then we would have had to do something different. But like the one on the test that we did, they just did it the set amount. And the
Okay.
other one was a 20.
Yes, please.
Okay. Juan works on a holiday. He receives 8 hours of regular pay, 8 hours of holiday pay. During the rest of the week, he works 32 hours. If his normal rate of pay is 8. So on this one, he did work on that holiday. So he gets his regular pay plus he'll get overtime. Because
I
he,
thought they have to specifically state that because no company is obligated to pay any extra on a holiday.
I don't think
It's
he
their
should
discretion.
overtime. I don't think he should get overtime because he didn't actually work over 40, even though he actually got paid for 48.
okay, okay, he did work the 4. Okay. He worked 40 hours and he got paid for 48. So you are correct. He
Oh,
will
so
not get
he'd
overtime.
get free money on the holiday. Okay. They didn't.
So it has to do with actual work. So he is going to get paid 48 times 8. 384? I'm going to say the answer is D, because yeah, you have to stop and figure out how many hours did they work. He worked 32 plus the 8,
384,
so he
yeah.
worked 40 plus he got the bonus pay or the holiday pay. So 384. Does that help, Tanya?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any others? When they only give you 2 choices of answers, it makes it easier. Okay,
For
so
38, we're going to go with 4
8.
years.
How many years in employee records of wages paid employees under federal wage and hour? Aren't they 3 for federal? For
I'm
that would
thinking IRS.
IRS is 4, so I think the answer is A there. IRS
I'm gonna go with
39 would be
sheet.
4, and wage is 3.
Ah,
Those ones I can handle better than the ones where they have, well, it's the due date 3 years after.
Michelle, do we know when we will get these back so we can just be studying them?
It depends on when you turn it into me. So if you turn them into me by tonight or even by tomorrow, you should have it back this week with all the answers. That is my goal, is that you have it back before Friday. It would be nice if you get them into me tonight. Hopefully you can have them back Thursday by class and we could go over them. That would be the best, but I won't promise that. We can go over them on Tuesday if we don't have them back by then. But if I send them in as soon as I get it, as soon as I get them, normally it's 1 to 2 days. So I'll try to do that. I'll do
Why
that
was it
tonight.
due at 9:08 a.m.?
Say that again.
Why was it due at 9:08 this morning?
If it was due then, that means that's the time that's not when it's due. It's due at midnight tonight. I will fix that. That
I mean, it
would
doesn't
have
matter.
been the time that I set it up, whenever I set it in there, that was the time of day at that point. So that is in module 8. And here. 9:08 a.m. Okay, now it says tonight. Okay. Anybody have any other questions on those you want to go over now? We can go over these. I want to continue reviewing payroll every week. Just because you don't want to forget them. It's like some of those, a lot of them there's so much memorization. In reality, we probably should do depreciation first and then payroll. It might be better that direction, because payroll, you would be doing it right before the test, but we will have time.
Question 37, I'm thinking D, July 31st.
37. Wages paid in May are reported on 9/41 that is filed by. So May is in second quarter, which ends on June 30th. So it would be D, it's due July 31st.
Right, the quarterly remittance. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hey,
Trying to
Michelle,
keep
one
all
more.
that separate. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. So one more question. We had discussed a couple classes ago about putting together a cheat sheet on the percentages and the dates that are due for the reporting for employer taxes and such. Are we still gonna possibly do that, or?
Yep. So my goal we will start depreciation now. We have like 15 minutes. My goal there's 10 sections in here. How many students do we have? Okay. We have about 10 students. Is on Tuesday or on Thursday, the first 15-20 minutes, we will work on that together. And then we will, I want to go through each section and just make like, what are the key notes that are in that section? Because each section seems to have something. It either has some form numbers you have to memorize, or those 362,500 numbers, or the dates. And so I would like to get one nice little page that we will create. So yes, that'll be the plan for the first part of Thursday. If we get back the back of the book test, we can talk about those also. If you have any questions on that, we can also do that on Tuesday. And then we will continue with depreciation.
Awesome, thank you.
Did you put up a PDF of the payroll and back of book exam?
For the Scantron,
Yeah.
I thought I put them all up. Let's see where I put them.
You have the questions on there, but not the Scantron.
Okay, I will put the Scantron up when we're done. She sent them all to me. So I have it in a PDF already. So I will put that in the same place with the payroll, with the questions at the end of module 7.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go. Into depreciation. So the first section in depreciation, the first ones are easy. So they won't overload your brain at the moment. You should be able to see my PowerPoint. There are 94 slides here, but so I don't think they're the new PowerPoints they have, they don't follow the order of the book, which I don't like. So section 1, oh, I don't have my depreciation book. Won't do any good to look at my payroll book. So if it says PP&E, that is not personal protective equipment. In accounting, it's property, plant, and equipment. So buildings and land are 2 examples of property. So property is your house, think of it that way. So property is a building and land. Plant and plant assets are things that will last more than a year. You're using them for a business and not intended to sell. So that I think of equipment, vehicles, all of those other things fit under here. So these are the things that we are going to need to depreciate. So I don't think they don't ask anything really confusing on that. A definition, they could ask for a definition of depreciation. So it's the periodic allocation of the cost of a tangible long-term asset over its estimated useful life. So remember, it is all multiple choice. You're not going to have to be able to write that out because I don't know that I could get those exact words. But if there was a list that says depreciation is, and it gave you 4 choices, you could pick that, you know, that it's allocating the cost of it over its life. And the purpose of this is for the matching principle. We want to match the expense of using the asset to the revenue. We want to make sure they're in the same period. So if you buy a vehicle and you wrote it all off right now in 2022, you're going to drive that for 5 years. You want that cost to go over 5 years. And yep.
Don't subtract the residual to start with though. Like let's say the truck is worth 60,000 to start. Let's say we bought the truck for 60. We have a residual of 27. So wouldn't we just subtract the 27 right away and divide 33 by 5 to get the annual depreciation for 5 years?
Correct.
That's the straight line, yeah.
So, yep. So that is the straight line, which I think is section 2 in the book. So that's the easy one. But that is correct. So it's cost minus salvage value divided by life. And I'm not even touching this screen. I don't know what this is doing. It is jumping ahead. So yes, you are correct. You do need to know the journal entry, depreciation expense, and accumulated depreciation. The difference, you do need to know what book value is. So if you take the cost of the asset minus whatever's in accumulated depreciation, that's your book value. Obviously this PowerPoint is set up to go forward after a certain amount of time. I'm supposed to talk faster, I guess. So you do need to know that journal entry. To me, those are the easy questions too. There are 2 kinds of depreciation. So GAAP depreciation is what you use for your financial statements, and then tax depreciation. I will say that in the depreciation book, that is one of the harder sections, is when we get to tax depreciation. You can use tax depreciation for both books and tax if the financial statements will not be audited or it's not materially different. I don't know. In the past, it was always a materiality thing that they said, but they also have this up here. If you're not going to be audited, so if you're a small company and you don't have to have audited financial statements, then you could just use the same number. But a larger company that is required to be audited for SEC or for some other reason, they have to have it 2 different, they have to calculate depreciation twice. So as most small businesses just calculate it once and use the tax depreciation just because it's easier to have a match. So as Connor had mentioned, so you're going to you need to know the cost, you need to know the residual value. So they could say residual value, salvage value, scrap value, trade-in value. All those things made the same thing. So whichever word they use, make sure that you know that that's what they're talking about. And then you need to know the life of it. So those are the numbers and things that you need. You'd have to also know what method they're using. So when you're taking the test, you'll reading the question carefully is also important to make sure that you know which method to use for depreciation. The last thing I'll go over here is the cost of plant assets. We won't get into any calculated depreciation. They do ask some on how to calculate the cost. So the cost includes what it costs to acquire it. So the purchase price, transportation, and preparing it for intended use. So if you have setup fees or anything like that. So purchase price, transportation, installation, if you have it tested, that could also be there. So all of those things. When we bought at our last store, when we bought our equipment, somebody had to come in and set it all up. So all of that cost of having it set up, it was all in our bid to get the equipment. So they just included it all in there. But even if they didn't, it would still be part of that plant asset. That's not a expense that you can write off setting it up or having somebody test things. And remember, land is not depreciable, even though it is an asset. And you may have to divide out the cost between land and if they'll give you the land cost in there to confuse you. So you might have to subtract it.
So how do the warehouse the property sits on, but I'm sorry, the warehouse that sits on the property, but not the property that the warehouse sits on. That's kind of doesn't make sense.
Are you reading that? So the warehouse would be depreciable because it's the building, but the land would not, the property.
But how does that work? Because it's like, why is the land not depreciable, but the warehouse that sits on top of it is?
Because the land's not going to wear out. The land, normally, if you think of land, it keeps going up in value, but that building will go down in value unless you keep putting money into it because it's going to wear out. So you will be given a breakdown that the land, that you bought a building, the building was worth 50,000 and the land was worth 25,000. So you'll give both of those pieces and then you would have to calculate depreciation and know that the land does not depreciate is what they're saying. Your car depreciates because it wears out and a building wears out. Everything else wears out, but land does not wear out.
So how does that work then if my business ends up underwater and then I have to sell it and I take a hit on the land and sell the land for $10,000 less than I bought it for?
You would just end up with a loss on your business. So but it doesn't have anything to do with depreciation in that case. So you would, because a lot of times you could sell a business and you might lose money on it anyway, because you're, whatever happened in the economy. And so you would end up with a loss on your books, but it would be booked as a loss, not as depreciation. So it's all kind of theory. It's not what actually happens. Because everybody's situation could be different. Let me finish this one slide. This is only slide 8. So the other things that aren't depreciable, so part of that land cost, brokerage commissions, survey fees, legal fees. So if you're buying land and you've paid these other fees, like in your closing costs, or if you've paid some surveying fees, all of that goes into your land value, but you don't depreciate it because it's part of that land value. Some of this, like brokerage commissions, a lot of times you buy land with a building, and I don't know if it's broke out between the two. To me, this is kind of if you're buying just a empty piece of land. So all of these other costs would go in there. And this test is not, it's still the overview. It doesn't get into the, nitty gritty details. And so they're not going to really confuse you with it. Just know that, if it says we purchased a piece of land, we paid this for the land, we paid this in commissions, what do I depreciate or what do I book as the cost of the land? You know that all of it goes in there. Okay. If you have to pay back property taxes, they do ask questions on this. I think that's the one thing. These other things kind of just blend in, but they will throw this in there that if there's delinquent property taxes, that's part of the land purchase. But if they're current property taxes, you're going to write them off. You would expense those. So back property taxes is just part of the cost of the land and it doesn't get depreciated. Grading and clearing is the same for land. I think that's the last one. Nope. Demolishing or removing buildings. One too many. So any of these things are part of that land cost. And when we see some questions, then I think that it normally is fairly clear on that piece. All right, that's all I'm going over is cost of land. Land is not depreciable. And let's see, costs for equipment, what goes into that. Different kinds of depreciation and what the journal entry is. I think that's about all. Definition. Knowing the difference between property and plant and equipment, I guess, or plant and plant assets. All right. Now you can figure about depreciation for a while again. You got a few minutes of depreciation. You go back, put your head back in payroll. Work on that end of backup book test. So if I come back in here, this was just the back of the book test. So that's the first thing you have to do this week. Other than that, after you have that done, then I would start reading the depreciation. And we will talk more about it. Let's see, where was the homework? I will post the correct homework in here, but it will not be due this week. So you can get started on that. So I will get that up there today. So I would start reading the depreciation when you're done with payroll and then start working on the homework. There is a quiz in here. The quiz this week, right now, there's one quiz down here, which is a payroll quiz. And I will put another like short quiz with maybe some depreciation questions in here. So you might have, there'll be 2 quizzes in there, but the second one will have like 5 questions just to kind of get you started on depreciation. Other than that, there is nothing else in here this week. Oh, there is a discussion. Let me see, what was your discussion? Is there a discussion? Let me see. There is nothing. What does this say? This is probably last week's. Let me go. I'm in the wrong one. That's a response. Let me make sure that I have this in here. I don't remember. Class discussion, initial post. Oh, do not answer that discussion. That's a waste of time. So, because that's talking about the last one. So yes, you were right. That one is old. So I will fix that, the discussion, just so it has the right information. So I will get that done today. So at this point, finish the back of the book test and then start reading your depreciation. And if you, the sooner you get me those back of book tests, the sooner I will have them all graded. So I didn't check. I know there's a couple people who are done. So I will get those sent in this afternoon so that I get those back sooner. So at least I have one good set of their answers and we know what they think are the right answers. Even if some people need a little more time. So, all right. Have a wonderful afternoon. The sun is out at the moment. So at one point I heard it was going to snow today, but it doesn't look like it. So, all right, I will see you guys Thursday. And if you have questions, I will be in my office tonight, 5:30 to 8. So if you have other questions, you can pop in then.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right, see ya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Bye-bye.